Miami Vice was big when License to Kill came out, and the producers were forced to film in America on a limited budget. The result is something like a long-lost 80s TV miniseries. The lighting, sets, shots, and pacing of the film all seem like they belong on television. Even the plot is smaller in scope and stakes than we're used to. Bond simply wants to ruin a drug lord's life in a quest for revenge. The only attempt to connect it to anything of a larger scope is the Stinger missile subplot, but that's just an excuse for the bad guy to have cool weapons at the climax. It never interrupts the main plot at all. But that doesn't make this a bad film. In fact, it reminds me a bit of From Russia with Love, which fans love despite the plot revolving around a code machine and Cold War politics. License to Kill is down-to-earth as Bonds go, and gritty in a certain sense, dealing with darker subject matter and getting closer to realism, but it isn't edgy or melodramatic. It isn't difficult to imagine that a real secret agent might accomplish what Bond does in this movie if he had a whole lot of good luck. You know, here we are in the 16th Eon film, and finally we get someone returning as Felix Leiter. It doesn't really add much though, since you probably don't remember David Hedison from way back in Live and Let Die. And though Felix has a crucial part to play in pushing the plot forward, he does it by being sympathetic and out of the picture most of the movie. Felix's troubles lead to that cliché to rule all clichés. Bond is forced to turn in his badge because he's too close to this case. But the idea of Bond financing himself by stealing from the bad guys is an interesting one. Unlike in previous films where Bond either has nothing but his wits or a massive army of British operatives and tech behind him, Lonesome Bond must create his own pool of resources and use it wisely. For example, his theft of the plane gives him the money he needs to both hire Pam and to infiltrate the bad guys' organization by posing as a hitman. Every skirmish with the bad guys counts toward the final goal. The cavalry isn't going to arrive and there's no safe place to go home to. But the fun diminishes halfway through the movie when Q shows up. Apparently, Moneypenny is suddenly able to marshal the resources to find Bond when nobody else can, and then sends Q to him without anyone finding out. Q doesn't do too much to rescue Bond plot-wise, but the idea that Money can call in help at any time ruins the whole vibe built up in the first half of the movie. Of course, Q is a fun character, and having him around can't be all bad. He even finds the time to be incredulous at things other than Bond, like romance subplots.
You don't understand, last night he stayed with me.
Then again, Q undergoes some questionable writing changes. Q's contempt for Bond was a lot of fun.
Would you care? Somebody seems to have stuck a knife in my wallet.
Oh, they missed you. What a pity.
But now he just acts like Bond's worried father.
Goodbye, Q. Thanks for all you've done.
What?
You're a hell of a field operative. Now go. I'll see you back in London.
I mentioned Pam a while back. She's a great Bond girl when she's not waiting in the hotel, and she's instrumental in infiltrating Sanchez's factory, and even delivering some bad guy comeuppance later on, all without needing to be rescued constantly. I think she needs to work on her communication skills, though. Yes, that hand signal really does cut through the language barrier, doesn't it? If you've seen any crime TV, you might not be surprised when Bond finds out that the narcotics department was planning a sting on Sanchez, and his little stunt was about to blow their whole operation! Despite the cliché, I think this could have been very interesting if the narcotics squad wasn't immediately killed. We would see the familiar crime boss who pipes up in front of the big bad guy as something it's never really been before, an actual attempt at sabotage from within the bad guy's ranks. We do get some mileage out of it though. It calls Bond's motives into question. Even after he hears about the narcotics sting, he can only think about revenge. He doesn't even consider the other people that are being murdered by the vast organization that Sanchez has constructed, which will probably continue after Sanchez is killed. This movie might be the most well-written Bond as a spy. He's always one step ahead, maintaining his cover by volunteering exactly enough information about himself at the right time and turning unanticipated events to his advantage, planning evidence to manipulate the bad guys and generally doing spy stuff. But he does so using only the information we know he has. He's not unbelievable, just good at what he does. Dalton portrays the competence necessary for the character. He's a bit humorless, but the story is a relatively serious one, and fortunately there aren't a lot of jokes for him to kill.
Oh God, it's Heller.
Yeah, looks like he came to a dead end.
Sanchez is a solid villain. He's brutal but keeps his word, a lawful evil, just business mobster type, and this trait affects his interactions with the other villains of the film.
Something you better understand, amigo.
Loyalty is more important to me than money.
Most of the action in the movie is packed into the ending confrontation with Sanchez. At first I thought it was a bit over the top, but then I learned that this truck stunt was done by a real stunt driver. I guess I've grown a bit jaded over the course of these movies. Whether this stunt is an effective means of dodging a Stinger missile, I leave to you to decide. I don't particularly like the ending, since not only is it a recapitulation of Bond falling in love stuff that we saw in On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Is there something wrong?
He was married once.
We don't talk about that movie. But we just found out in this film, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service for that matter, that a secret agent in a long-term relationship is a recipe for disaster. It can't spoil this movie for me though. It's 2 hours of neat spy stuff, admittedly without the excitement or charm of an apocalyptic plot, but also without a lot of camp or frivolity. Also, Ed from Twin Peaks gets eaten by a shark.
There's $2 million in that suitcase. I'll split it with you.
You earned it. You keep it, old buddy.
Ah, fuck you, buddy. Da 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 da.